2019 and currently serves as the president for the Big Country Beekeepers Association Board of Directors. Is that right? And she's established St. Grace Farms in 2022, which is a honeybee apiary, and bee supply store in South Taylor County. She's very passionate about beekeeping and striving to fulfill her personal motto of spreading the good news of beekeeping. She is a member of the Texas Beekeepers Association and is currently enrolled in the Texas A&M AgriLife online Master Beekeeper program. So help me welcome Chrissy, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. I do talk loud, so it may get real loud. I don't know, but you know how it on Facebook, if anybody's on Facebook, you know how it has memories that pop up from years past. I was looking at one the other day, and I laughed because it was from 2017, and I was like, I posted something about, oh my gosh, I just got stung by a bee. Does anybody know what to do? And it was really funny. I died laughing because I was like, if my future self knew what was about to happen 2 years from then, you know, and now I'm answering that question for other people. So I just thought it was humorous. But that is me. That's our St. Grace Farms is our farm out in I was going to say Taylor County, but we're in Taylor County, South Abilene, South Taylor County. We have pure raw local honey. We have some with us today, a little bit. We're running low this year. We do pollination services, bee rescues and removals, apiary setup, beekeeping consultation, beekeeping education, tours, classes, all of that at our farm. Just a little bit more about who we are, what we do, why I'm doing this. Like she said, I'm very passionate about bees, beekeeping for several years now. I am the president of the Big Country Beekeepers Association. A lot of people don't know we even exist. There's actually a few members in the room today. If you guys raise your hand. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 of you guys? That's awesome. So they've probably heard everything I'm going to say, and that's okay. We've been around since 2018. I came on with them in 2019, and then in 2022, I became president, I think. So, but it's a great group of people. It's growing by leaps and bounds. There's a lot of beekeepers in the greater Big Country area. We actually cover 16 counties. So there's people who drive in from all over just for our association. So we cover a pretty large area, all the way up to Knox County, all the way down to Brown County. So today what we're going to talk about is a little bit about honeybees, generally speaking. I know you guys are master gardeners, so you know about pollination, but we are going to talk about that, why we need bees, some bee emergency situations. You guys are out in nature, right? You're in the woods and the gardens and things. So like with my 2017 memory, there's a good chance, likelihood you'll be around bees, could get stung, that kind of situation. And then how you can be involved in beekeeping, or if you want to become a beekeeper. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to start with a quiz. Oh, I forgot my seed packets. They're back there somewhere. What do you need? I had some seeds in that bag underneath the table. There's some seeds, I think. They're blue. We're going to do little quizzes throughout the talk, if that's all right. So the first one is, how many eyes do bees have? Any guesses, honeybees, that is? How many eyes do honeybees have? And you guys are not allowed to answer this question.
Many eyes.
Many? No.
200.
No.
8. 3.
No.
2.
No.
6.
No.
4. 10.
No.
1.
No. 5. Yes, finally. How many? 5. They have 5 eyes. Yes. So they have 5 total eyes, 3 simple eyes on top, and then 2 compound eyes on the side. They have these eyes so that they can see it. They can see a 360-degree radius. They need to be able to do that because obviously they're flying around from flower to flower, plant to plant, pollinating. The ones on top are actually a light sensory eyes. So it's more for dictating how bright it is. It's a sunny day, it's a shady day, it's a really sunny day, you know. So that's what the simple ones on top are more geared for. And they can see it more of an infrared style. They can't see the same color scheme we can. It's quite different. But yeah, that's a little bit about their eyes. I'm not going to get too nerdy on bee biology, even though it's tempting to do that. So this is a little bit about them, though. I like to point out a few things. One being, of course, their eyes that we just talked about. Their tongue is super long, and that is obviously so they can get into the flower, get the nectar out of the flower. And then, of course, their legs, they use these little forelegs to stir up the pollen, and then they pick up that pollen and they carry it, you know, from flower to flower. A lot of these things you guys already know, but what I really like to point out is the pollen packs. When they stir up that pollen, they pack it in pollen packs or pollen press on the sides of their legs. And it's cool to look at, you know, in a picture or a visual like this one, but when you see an actual live image of their pollen packs, it looks like they have footballs on the sides of their legs. And scientifically, they are not aerodynamic. They should not be able to fly with those pollen packs on the sides of their legs, but they do. Sorry, I'm like standing right in your way, but it's just amazing that they can carry all that pollen and then they carry it back to their hive, and then the ability to do what they do, it kind of blows my mind. So, all right, so if you think beehive, someone says, hey, there's a beehive, in your head mentally, do you picture something more like this? Or do you picture a box out in somebody's yard? You probably picture the left, right? The left also, or left, yes, left, correct. That is, so colony of bees is where we start. Bees live in a colony. That's their family, that's their group, that's their colony. That colony lives in a structure of some kind. So they live somewhere. That hive, the bee hive, can be in a tree, or it can be in a box, a commercialized, humanized way of keeping bees. Anywhere there's a void of space, there can be a beehive. A collection of beehives is an apiary, and you only need 2 to have an apiary, just more than 1. So, but that beehive can be anything. It can be under somebody's, it can be under somebody's shed. It can be in a barn. It can be under a doghouse. Bees can live anywhere there's a void of space. Inside a tree. Of course, this is a bee box, and then these are bee boxes. So, all that to say, bees are all over. They're everywhere. They can be anywhere. They can be in a beekeeper's yard, in their bee yard, in their apiary, or they can be in a tree in your back pasture, and you have no idea. You know, but they're out there. They're everywhere. So, who's who in a beehive? When 99% of what I'm going to talk about today is honeybees. And I realize there's about 1,000 other species of bees. We are going to touch on that, but my area of expertise and what I'm studying the most of is a honeybee. So we will talk about native bees, but most of what we're going to talk about this morning is honeybees. So in a honeybee hive, you have 3 types of bees. You have the queen, and she is the queen mother. She rules the roost. She kind of dictates the environment of the entire hive. She doesn't really leave, ever, unless there's really just 2 reasons she will leave. That's if she's taking the entire hive, the entire colony, out on, if they abscond, if they leave where they are, if they run out of room, or if they decide they just don't want to live there anymore, it smells bad, whatever the reason is, if she leaves with them, then she'll leave for that reason. Or on a mating flight, if she goes to mate. She can go mate, and then when she comes back, she then has all of the eggs she will ever need in her entire life. And she can lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. So she's an egg-laying machine. I mean, and that's her job, is to lay eggs. And she has her little entourage, and she kind of marches to the beat of her own drum. And you can see her in a hive because of that, because she has her own rhythm, her own way of doing life. And then there's workers and drones. So workers, are they female or male? Female. Female, good job. Drones are the males. Workers do 99% of the jobs. They are the nurse bees, they are the foragers, they're the guard bees, they're the caretaking bees, they're the cleaning crew. They are all of it. And then the drones, and they sting, or workers sting, they don't leave the hive until the very end of their life. It's a temporal polytheism structure. So when they're young, when they're first born, they're the cleaning crew, they're the nurse bees, they stay in the beehive. It's not until they graduate, until the very end of their days, which is only about 35 days, that they actually get to leave the hive. So the ones that are out there that might sting you, they're about to die anyway, so just let them go, let them do their thing. And they're like, we finally got to leave, we're out in nature. So they're at the tail end. It's like hospice, but it's just out in the weeds, out in the flowers. It's the very end of life. And then there's drones. Drones are males. They are reproductive males. They mate with a queen. They have drone congregation areas out in the air. And that's where all the drones hang out. And then the queen comes to their drone congregation area, she mates, and then she goes back to the hive. So they mate and then they die. True statement.
Wow.
That is their life. In a beehive, you'll see a few things. You'll see capped honey, that's up in this top corner. You'll see uncapped honey, which is basically nectar. Then you have your capped brood. Brood is their babies. So the flat brood is worker babies. The little puff balls like these are the drone babies. You might see larvae. You might see the queen. And around the queen, you see her nurse bees, her little entourage. She has them around her most of the time. Queen cells, if they're making a new queen, they look kind of like a peanut. So that's what a queen cell looks like. And then again, another visual of some more honey up at the top. And then brood. This is pollen. Out here in West Texas, you'll see even more colors than this. You'll see some purples, some blues, some deep reds. They're just more shades, not just the reds and yellows and oranges. But we have some pretty vibrant colors. So how do honeybees tell other honeybees where to go and find nectar? Any guesses? They dance. That's right. They do a waggle dance. They shake their tails and shake their heads, and depending on which way they're shaking, it's dependent on where it is. So it's north, south, east, west, up, down, this way, that way. So they do a waggle dance. So why do we need bees? There's a lot of reasons. One of the main reasons, and not just honeybees, all bees, is pollination. And you guys know this because of being a gardener and being a master gardener. Bees are responsible for the majority, not just honeybees, all bees, are responsible for the majority of pollination that takes place. There are other pollinators, yes, but bees do most of it, most of the pollinating. Then there's honey. We all obviously benefit and like honey. Beeswax, you can actually benefit from bee venom. I didn't know that in 2017. That's why I freaked out when I got stung and I was starting to swell up. But I know that now. So bees do a lot more than make honey. Most people that I talk to or that I see like honeybees, they're like, oh, honey. Yes, honey is great. That's not why I'm a beekeeper. And I know a lot of other beekeepers who are not beekeepers because of honey. Yeah, honey's a great byproduct. But shocker, they aren't making it for me. They're not making it for us. Yes, we can glean from them, and yes, I love to eat it, but they're making it for themselves. And I am a beekeeper because of the great impact that honeybees and all bees have on our ecosystem, right? We could not live without them. They are pollinating everything that we eat. Well, not everything, a third. And like it says up here, a third of what we eat is being pollinated by bees. But it's not just us that it impacts. It's impacting wildlife, it's impacting other ecosystems, it's impacting deer, turkey, quail, all those other things that we like to eat. Their pollination is impacting all of it, the entire environment. A third of our food is coming from the pollination of honeybees. That's not just bees. 90 different flowering types of crops in the U.S. are pollinated by honeybees. Bees pollinate our plants. We know this. They carry the pollen from flower to flower, plant to plant, cross-pollination. And like I said, it's not just us that's impacted by it. It's other species as well. So deer, turkey, dove, chickens. Anybody like to hunt? I mean, there's a lot of hunters, there's a lot of ranchers, there's a lot of farmers. We're all impacted by bees and honeybees. Gardens, landscaping, trees, all walks of life need them and need them for their pollination. A lot of people forget about trees. Trees need bees, and this is a very short list, and I'll tell you about another list here in a minute, but any type of fruit-bearing tree, obviously, but believe it or not, mesquite need bees. And I know there's a love-hate relationship with mesquite trees, but mesquite need bees. Oak trees, I didn't know this either, but oak can bees pollinate oak trees. And oak trees, actually, when they pollinate on that, it makes it much more medicinal, on the medicinal side of things. So it's very, very interesting. Pollination, we know how this works. They pick up the pollen grains and they carry it from flower to flower, plant to plant. Without pollination, and you guys know this, but without pollination, you don't get from the flower to the fruit, right? So, not just honeybees, but there are lots of other bees. Around Texas, there's about 1,000-ish, 1,100 native bees that pollinate our plants. They do the majority of pollinating. There's the social bees, which is a honeybee. A honeybee lives in a social structure. They have a colony. They have a hive to protect, right? So they're more defensive than non-social bees. Bumblebees are also social bees. So you might get stung by a bumblebee. You might get stung by a honeybee. A lot of the other bees are not going to sting you because they don't really have a reason to. Bumblebees are social bees, but they're not the same, obviously, as a honeybee. They're a little bit different. Their colonies and their hives are not as grandiose. They also typically live in the ground or in a different kind of nesting sites. They don't build like a honeybee will build in this large space. You can help a lot by doing native honeybee hives or honeybee boxes. They look like this, and some of them are really large. I put some out at Blue Cross Blue Shield that are about this big, and it's for native bees. But you can put them at your house, you can put them in your yard, you can put out little trays or feeders with water and rocks or marbles or wine corks or whatever for a bee to land on to drink, because they just need plain water. Your chicken waters, if you're a chicken person like me, my chicken waterers have honeybees on them a lot in the summertime because the bees are so thirsty. But there are bees all over the state of Texas. These are the non-social bees, so the solitary bees, meaning they're not defending an entire colony. I'm sorry?
Someone had a question.
Oh, yes.
What's their foraging range? How far from wherever they live are they out then going?
Honeybees up to 3 miles. So it's a pretty big radius. And they'll go up to 3 miles for food and water. Of course, they don't want to go that far, but they will go that far if they have to. Bumblebees, I can't answer that question. These are the solitary bees, so they don't have a hive to protect. So they're probably not out going to be stinging you. I'm not sure if some of these have stingers, some do not. But that's not their goal. They're just doing their thing. They're solitary, they're alone. They're not protecting a whole hive. So you have the leafcutter bees. I'm sure you guys have had experience with leafcutter bees. You have these nice little circles that are cut out of your flowers and your leaves. Large carpenter bees, you'll see those burrowing into wood to create their nests. They're commonly mistaken for bumblebees. There are some similarities, but bumblebees are much more fatter and fluffier. They have the mason bees, digger bees. They nest in the soil. Mason bees nest in the soil. The longhorned bees, sunflower bees, sweet bees, sweat bees, and polyester bees. Polyester bees I was not really familiar with until not long ago, but a lot of them nest in the ground. Say that again? Which one?
Polyester.
Oh, I know, right?
Polyester princess.
And then sometimes it's hard to designate that when you see them out in nature, that's what that is, unless you're real up close and personal to that bee. So this is a farmer's market with bees and one without. Obviously, the magnitude that they have on our life, ecosystem, food is great. Yes, ma'am.
Sunflower bees, does that mean they like sunflowers?
They require the pollen from the sunflower family for their babies. So yes. Yeah. They have to have the sunflower to survive. Yeah, you've probably seen them on your sunflowers and just didn't realize that's what it was. You know, a lot of these are tiny, super tiny little bees. Okay, so one of the things Kathy asked for me to bring today is a list of plants. You can read that, right? Yeah. It's a list of plants that are good for bees in Texas. So I did some digging and found a very comprehensive list that was produced by the Texas Beekeepers Association. That is all of the native Texas plants that pollinate for our bees. And then they even have it broken down so that you can have plants year-round. What blooms in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, all the way. I had one copy because I had no idea how many people were going to be here today. So I brought one copy. The good thing is that they made a QR code at the top of this. So you can scan the QR code, and then when you get to their website, go to resources. This entire list is on the resources tab. Or I can email it.
It's actually 3 pages.
It is. I have all 3. Yeah. It's 3 pages long. It's a great list. So it can tell you what to plant, when to plant it. It's got all kinds of information. And then it tells you if it's invasive or not. The invasive ones are in red. And like we said, it's 3 pages long. There's the flowers, then there's the trees,
And is this all zones for
shrubs and bushes.
Texas?
Bushes. I'm sorry?
Is this for all zones in Texas?
Yes.
We'll include it with your presentation on the website, on our
Perfect.
website. So.
Yeah, and they told us we can spread this around. We actually posted it on our Beekeepers Association page, so it's great information. But if you have specific questions on plants, I can answer some of those. I'm not a master gardener like you guys, so I might not know all of the answers, but I know some of what bees pollinate on. Because I have some of those things in my own house. Right now, we're super dependent on things that are still blooming. So things like sunflowers, lantanas, vitex, sage. I'm trying to think of other things that are still blooming. There's not a lot. Cotton, yes. Cotton fields are your best friend right now if you're a beekeeper, if you live near them. Yeah. So, but this list is great. It's very comprehensive. They even have websites listed over here where you can get more information. So, and you can reach out to Be Mindful, the people who produce this, and they'll be able to help as well. So what 2 reasons does the queen leave that beehive? Yes, relocation. I don't know who said that. Did you say that? Mate. Oops, let me take that. Yes. Okay, so why else do we need honeybees? Honey. Honey's a big one. Honey's a great thing. I don't keep bees for honey, but I love it. And the more I learn about honey, the more I like to eat it. One of the things that I have started doing more of is I've partnered up with, or we, the Big Country Beekeepers Association, our association has partnered up with a honeybee scientist, originally from Turkey. Now he's in the United States, and he is the bee professor at UTSA. They have a whole new bee lab. And I got to go there on Wednesday, and I heard him speak a few other times, several other times, but I haven't been to the bee lab until this past Wednesday. And it was fascinating. These students are doing research on honey and on medicinal honey and on the properties that honey has and what it can do. And when I say honey, I mean honey from a local beekeeper honey that hasn't been heated, hasn't been pasteurized, hasn't been changed, hasn't been watered down, hasn't been added sugar. Sugar hasn't been added to it. It's not what you buy from Walmart. It's local honey out of the hive, strained into a jar. So that's the benefit of local beekeepers. Yes?
Let everyone know, if they go to the store and buy honey, look for the term raw honey on there, because that means it's, other than filtering out the legs and wings, is pure honey.
But even that, the honey labeling laws aren't super strict in the US. So yes, that is beneficial, but even that can lead you astray. I would stick, if you can, with people in the big country who produce honey from their beehives. And there's a bunch of us. Like I said, our association has grown. There's a lot of beekeepers around this area who produce honey. But it is known for its antioxidant, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and they're antifungal. I forgot to put that on there. It's all the antis. It will kill all of those things. They have petri dishes in their labs, and I made sure to stay away from that section. It has the superbugs, MRSA, staph, all these things. They put honey in there, pure raw local honey, it dies. Instantly it dies. It blows my mind. Yes.
Another thing you left off, when you get stung by a bee,
We're going to talk about it.
it helps, oh, you're gonna talk more about that? Okay, let's
Yeah,
start.
no, it's okay. He's been in all the classes. One of our members, so he does. It helps with all these different conditions such as eye diseases. Him, meaning Dr. Osterk, he put honey on his son's eyelid when he had pink eye, and it was gone in 24 hours. So just from honey, and that's honey out of their beehive. Cough, sore throat, hiccups, fatigue, dizziness, constipation, eczema, ulcers, wounds, cuts, burns. I put it on everything humanly possible now that I know about honey and its benefits. If I cut myself, honey. If I, anything, I put honey on it. And then if I feel bad, honey. But I eat it every day, period. Just because. It's the only food on the planet that never goes bad. So honey, if you take it out of the beehive, capped, and you leave it that way, it will stay edible and perfect forever. If you put it in a jar, it might crystallize. That's okay, that's normal, but it doesn't mean it's gone bad. You just warm it up in a warm pot, don't boil it or get it too hot, and get it over like 100. But just warm it back up and stir it, it's still fine. But it will never go bad. It's also the only food you could eat just honey and survive. So it has enough properties within itself, the way they make it, where you can live on it. You could just live on honey and water. At their lab on Wednesday night, he produced this document, and I asked him if I could take it with me and share it. But here are some of the things that they are seeing that honey will do for the body. So it helps with gastrointestinal diseases, cancer, wound healing, respiratory infections, neurological diseases, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes. It's got a low glycemic index, so if you're diabetic, you can have honey. Again, this is raw local honey. This is not honey from big box stores. I wouldn't try that if I was diabetic. But raw local honey, you can. Antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, immunomodulatory. I don't even know what that means. But I should have asked him. All that to say, it's very good. I highly recommend it. Yes, ma'am.
What would be the difference between medical grade honey and the raw local honey?
Good question. So all local honey, all honey that's not been tampered with and changed, has some medicinal value to it. He tested, so when we partnered with him, we sent off samples from the big country to his lab, and that's another thing I was doing when I was there on Wednesday, was handing him more samples. And they will test those samples and see the medicinal value of the honey. In our big country, our group, several were up on the 70 and 80 percentile range of being medicinal grade. So Manuka honey, which I'm sure you've heard of, is like the top major medicinal, and that's just because of what they're pollinating, the bees are pollinating on. And most of those things we don't really have around here. So I'm not sure if we in the big country will ever get to like the 90 and 100% it's medicinal, you could use it in a hospital. But for those of us who do live around here to have some 80 and 90%, I'm good with that, So I think ours was like 78% on the medicinal side, meaning from Sadie Grace Farms. Do you remember what y'all's was?
I
You haven't done it yet?
No.
Did you guys do it? Did you do it, Carrie? No. Okay. Some of them were, some in Callahan County was in the 80s, and we asked him why the ones in the 80s are in the 80s, and it's because of oak trees. I don't understand that, but I didn't even know that you could pollinate oak. but you can, and the bees do, and it makes it way more on the medicinal side of things.
So if I recall correctly from his presentation, it was the aphid secretions.
Yes.
And they would, the bees, so if there's a lot of aphid, like we had a really dry year in the shinnery, so around Holly,
Uh-huh.
and you would see the oak trees and they would start turning brown. It was the aphids that were all over them that was sucking the life out of the trees. Well, the bees would go to those trees and get that secretion and take it back, and that's what would, that is what is
Make it
creating
medicinal.
the medicinal, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for remembering. Yeah. Again, it kind of blows my mind. Yes, ma'am.
I know you have how many trees that we can buy. We want to buy one. Okay.
Yeah, so I personally, and I pretty much march into the beat of the same note as every other beekeeper around here. This summer was rough on bees. So all of us are on a low, running low on honey. Everybody that I know that has honey is starting to sell out. So we have a little bit left in our shop in Potosi. We have some in a few different places around Abilene, and I can tell you where those are. But there's other beekeepers that have some as well in various locations. I think there's some at the Buffalo Gap Hardware Store. There's some at the Branch Coffee Shop in Tuscola. It's not mine, it's another beekeeper that I know, but
The Bee Supply, their brand of honey, I can't remember, it starts with a T.
if that's not local though.
Well, it's in Dallas area,
Yeah, it
but
is.
it's now raw honey.
It is, and it's good honey. I mean, I would eat that before I would eat some from a
I mean,
different.
that you can go to several of the stores and buy good, proper raw honey.
I would stick with it if I can.
Yeah,
But yes,
that's one
it's
good
better.
thing.
Yeah. But a lot of beekeepers are running low this year. So especially now, we harvest usually in July, maybe August. So by this point, it's, we've almost sold out. So unless we have a fall honey flow or a fall flow, nectar flow, we might, we hope. If we do, then we'll have another harvest maybe in October, and then there could be more honey. So we'll just have to wait and see kind of what happens. Yes, ma'am.
Do you offer tours of Sadie Grace? Oh, good.
We do.
And
Every
so-
Saturday morning, we're open from 8 to 12. We offer tours every Saturday. I'm not there, but I have people there doing that this morning for me.
And is there a store there that's open to get the honey?
There is, but like I said, we're running really low. We had I brought a lot, and it's not a lot. I brought some with me today, but there's just a little bit left in our store. Yeah.
Since she asked that, do you ever go into classrooms?
Oh, yeah. We will go anywhere because like she said, I love to share about bees and the importance of bees and hopefully encourage, especially the younger generation, about beekeeping.
Yeah, they're so scared
Right.
of being stung, and I'd love to have them realize that there's nothing to worry about.
Yes, but absolutely. I've
So,
gone to Wiley.
do you have info I can get from you?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can talk after for sure. Yeah, for sure. But back to your question, it's what they're pollinating on that's making it more medicinal. Whoever asked the question. Another thing we need from bees is beeswax. There is actually great importance there. It's very hydrating for your skin. It is, you can eat it, actually. But the main thing is for your skin and for the air. So we have beeswax candles that we make, and the reason we make them is because if you burn I have asthma. I have had asthma since I was a little kid. I had no idea, and this is not why I became a beekeeper, that when I became a beekeeper, it was going to radically change my life, and it has. I don't take any of my asthma medication anymore. I don't ever use my inhaler anymore. And the only thing, and I've not had a physician tell me this, but the only thing I can attribute it to is the bees. Because of what I'm learning about them. The air that they have in their box is so pure and clean, and it's full of the properties that the bees make and the pollen that they're, producing and the propolis they get from trees and just everything they're doing in there. It's very pure air, and I'm breathing it in on a regular basis, and I'm eating honey every single day. I have wax either in my mouth or on me or somewhere all the time, and it's changed my asthma. I don't know if it's gone, but I don't have it much. So It purifies the air. When you burn pure beeswax candles, it will take the impurities out of the air. It kills it. And it's just another fascinating thing that bees do. That's why we put the beeswax in our lip balms and our lip butters, because it's hydrating and will heal your skin. It will heal your lips. And we're about to make some beard balm for all you beard people. Lotions, ointments, we're going to get into salves, however you say that word, soon, because of the benefit of beeswax. I mean, it is so beneficial to your body. If you have eczema or psoriasis or, I can't think of all the words right now, I'm going blank, but beeswax is so beneficial for your skin. This is a simple question, but what's this? Typical shape of a honeybee cell?
It's gone.
Hexagon. I don't know who said it. Somebody said
She's back there.
it. Way back there?
Right there.
Oh, okay. Will you pass that back? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so another thing we do that I'm pretty driven about is helping with the emergencies, bee relocation. So, like you were talking about, bee stings, and if I don't say what you were going to say, let me know. But bees are not, in their created being, little honeybees, are not aggressive. They're defensive, but they're not aggressive. They can be on the aggressive side, but there's a variety of reasons that will make them that way. But typically they're not. They're defensive. They have an entire colony to defend. I honestly resonate with bees in a large way. Because if somebody came busting into my house, I probably wouldn't be very happy either, right? So most Texans wouldn't, or humans really for that matter, but especially Texans. And they'll do the same thing. A colony can range anywhere from on the small side, 6,000 to 10,000, all the way up into hundreds. I mean, a large beehive, some of our big 3 and 4 tiered boxes have hundreds of thousands of bees. So if you go in and take them apart, and they have all that to defend, all their babies, all their food, and they know way more than we know. Like they know when the weather's about to change, they know when this is coming, they know when that's coming. So they'll get defensive and spicy if they have a lot to defend. They defend their offspring, they defend their food. When they sting, so inside their abdomen is their venom sac, and then their diaphragm pump, and then the barbed lancer that gets in your skin. It goes in your skin, it gets stuck because it's barbed, and they release and pull away, and it's pulling out all of that that's inside their abdomen, so it's ripping their guts out. That's why they die. And it takes a few seconds, but it does kill them. They release at that moment a pheromone, and that pheromone is then telling every other bee in the colony, hey, there's the threat, go get it. So if you're outside and you're gardening or hunting or fishing or just hanging out, playing ball, whatever you're doing, and you get stung by a honeybee, you need to cover up that pheromone ASAP, or go in the house or get in a car or something. But if you're out, so I sell real estate on a regular basis, that's my real job, my other real job. And we're out in farms and ranches a lot. And I've told all of our staff, I'm like, look, we're outside a lot. If you get stung, don't just hang out, because there's a chance that all their friends are going to come right behind them. So tobacco, spit in some dirt, make some mud, put some mud on it, smear some, I keep Benadryl in my truck because you just never really know. Keep Benadryl cream, put some Benadryl cream on it. But you want to cover that smell of that pheromone up as soon as you can, or it could get bad. And we have gotten a lot of phone calls in the past where people are in that situation. It can go from okay to not okay in a very short amount of time. So I'm not trying to scare you, but you guys as gardeners are outside a lot. So just be aware. You may have already known this, but you want to cover up that pheromone soon. Did I say what you were going to say?
No.
Well, what were you going to say?
There is a benefit to the venom
Oh, yes.
of a bee sting, and that is what they're learning. This is 2 items, I'm sure there's tons more. They have found that it is beneficial in healing cancer and arthritis. And I can testify to the arthritis side in that with one of my bee mentors, before I had my hives, and this is this last spring, I went out and I was wearing my bee suit, and there's two types of veils, covers for your head. One is a fencing type veil, but comes down, and the other one you popularly seen as the round type. The fencing veil, I was leaning too far forward, and the veil came up against my chin. I succeeded in getting, according to my mentor, 10 stings on my chin. In my case, I do not react very bad to bee stings. Don't take my situation to yourself, please. You have to learn what you react to. I will say the next morning, I had the shivers real bad. But I also have been told that I have arthritis in my right hip. Since that day, I haven't had a pain in my right hip of arthritis. One of my other mentors had what did he say he had in his?
I don't remember.
Some sort of a tumor in his hand. He literally caught a bee, worker bee, put it on there so that the bee stung him on his hand. That whatever it was there has gone away. So bee stings, although you need to be cautious, some of you can have a very serious reaction and you need to carry with the EpiPen. You have to know yourself. But in my case, I'm not that bad. I do not swell up that. Some people do. I'm not going to tell you to go out and get stung by a bee intentionally. Do not do that. But if you get stung, be prepared. Learn. But it can be beneficial. As I said, arthritis in my right hip, I don't feel the pain. My other mentor feel on his hands going away. It can be beneficial. And it has been proven to be beneficial to cancer.
Yes, that is actually very true. There's 3. Go ahead. Okay.
So when you get stung, do you want to pull the stinger out or are you trying to break it off?
Yeah, good question. It depends on if you want all the venom or not. So, venom is released for 180 seconds. I, like Dennis, and in the research we've done and that Dr. Ostrup is doing, and that, because I'm in the Texas A&M Master Beekeeper program, bee venom can be, if you're not type 1, incredibly beneficial to your body. I do not remove the stinger at that moment. I let it get all 180 seconds. Because like he said, and like several of our members have experienced, the bee venom can help us. I have a handful of people who come to my house every week and buy a little jar of bees and take it home and sting themselves. Because they have rheumatoid arthritis, or they have joint pains, or they have whatever going on. One lady has Lyme disease. And it is proven, scientifically proven, that it will affect, in a good way, rheumatoid arthritis, Lyme disease, muscular dystrophy, MS, other neurological problems. I fell in February, it hurt my wrist really bad, there was some scar tissue, went to the doctor. Long story short, he said, you're gonna have to have surgery, there's scar tissue, and I'm like, okay, I'll just get stung. So I go home and I start stinging myself every day for about 7 or 8 days. My wrist is. So it depends on how long you want the venom to be pumping in your body. But if you don't want a lot of venom in your body, yes, you want to get the stinger out. If you pinch it, it's going to continue to pump with that venom sac. So you want to like scrape it out with a blunt edge, like a knife, or a really good fingernail, or credit card, or I've used mesquite thorns because that's all I had. You know, I mean, just whatever you got around. But there's 3 types of stinger effects on people. You can be type 1, type 2, or type 3. Type 1 is nothing. I had it reversed. Type 1 is nothing. It's like you get stung, it's a little dot. It's like a mosquito bite. Nothing really happens. That's about 50% of the human population. Then there's type 2, which is about 45% of the human population. That's what I was starting to change, I would get stung and it would turn into like a pancake size, 2 or 3 inches, and it would be itchy and warm, and it would go away in 2 days. And that's starting to decrease. If you're type 2, type 1, it really never changes. If you're type 2 and you get stung often, you're a beekeeper or a gardener. You can either go this way or this way with it. You can go the way of all the bee stings are going to help, and it's going to get less and less and less as you keep getting stung, or it's going to go the other direction and you're going to get worse and worse and worse as you keep getting stung. And I've met beekeepers who are getting worse and worse and worse, and now they're going to have to stop beekeeping or they have to use an EpiPen. Luckily, so far, what I can tell is I'm going on the better side, which is really good. Then there's type 3, and it's only about 4 or 5% of the human population, and that is you get stung and you go into anaphylactic shock and you've got to have an EpiPen and you need to go to the hospital. That's a true allergy to it. The reaction where you just swell up some, you're not allergic, it's just a reaction. And you'll be fine. Benadryl cream, take a Benadryl, you'll be all right. So that's the 3 types of reactions to stings.
What was the percentage on that last one?
It's only about 5%. There's really not that many. I've met probably 4 or 5 over the last few years that are type 3, like truly going anaphylactic shock. And he was joking around about people getting stung on purpose. I actually get that phone call often. Hey, can I come to your house and get stung? I want to know how I'm going to react. Sure. I had a lady who just found out she was pregnant. She wanted to become a beekeeper. She was like, will you sting me? I need to know right now, before I start having kids and before I keep doing this beekeeping thing, am I allergic to it? I'm like, let's go get you stung. So, and it happens. It's kind of weird, but why not?
And you got the other things handy.
Yes, and Benadryl and
I love her enthusiasm. That's awesome.
Another thing you might see, and you may have already seen this, is a swarm of bees. Has anyone seen a swarm fly through like a big cloud of black? Really?
Yeah.
I am dying to see that. I have not seen it yet. And it's just, I want to see it so bad. But I've seen this. These are all our pictures. A swarm is a group of bees. So earlier we talked about a queen leaving, and she'll leave because they run out of space and they need to go somewhere else. When they swarm like that, when they leave, they take the colony of bees and the queen and they go somewhere. But a lot of times they'll stop off and hang out, re-collaborate. And they look like this. They just look like a big ball of bees. That swarm, that colony that is taking a break and trying to figure out where they're going to go next, super docile. I don't recommend this, but you can walk up with your hand and scoop them up because they're super chill. They know they're homeless. They know they're in between places. So they're like, leave me alone. We're just here for a few minutes and we're going to go on our way. They're not trying to hurt you. You can leave them completely alone and they will move on their own. However, only about 15-20% of swarms make it in nature because somebody will see that, spray it. They'll get caught in a rainstorm. They'll get caught in a thunderstorm. They'll get in a tree and then someone will knock the tree. Whatever the case may be, only about 15% of swarms make it in nature. So I'm trying to help people understand that, so they'll call us. And when I say us, I don't just mean me. Yes, me and my farm, we will go get them. But like we've talked about, I'm the president of the entire association. I have lists of people who want to go get swarms. And so I'll call, I'm like, hey, there's one at this place. Can you go get it? Yes. There's one at this place. Yes. In the summertime, I'm on the phone with them all day long because it just keeps ringing. And I'm like, hey, go, 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 go. And we have people out all the time getting bees because it's better for us to go get it and take it to our apiary than for someone to spray it or kill it or get rained on or whatever the case may be. So,
Do they care how far they've been relocated?
yes. So a swarm is different because they've already left somewhere else. So a swarm you could take, let's say the swarm landed in your backyard and you wanted to become a beekeeper. We can take that swarm and put it in a bee box right there. Or a few feet from there. It's either 3 feet or 3 miles. You can't take a bee, like let's say you had a tree and there was a beehive in it, and we took the beehive out. We can leave those bees right there and put them in a bee box in that location or in a 3 feet radius But if you have a farm and you wanted to put it over by the pond, and it's 200 yards away, or it's an acre away, or whatever, we can't do that because they'll go back to where they were. Does that make sense? So there's a 3 feet, 3 mile rule there. You have to go more than 3 miles, or they'll just go back to where they were. But swarms are pretty chill.
You might also know that in the swarm, that the queen was basically in the center.
Oh yeah, she's right there in the middle. They're keeping her safe. And she's always pretty much in the middle. Now this is not a swarm. What is the difference between this and this? There's a whole hive, right? There's comb, there's babies, there's probably honeys. That's their house. So if you see this, it's a whole different ballgame. We would come get them. It's very different than just a swarm. They have something to defend. So they are going to be more on the defensive side of things. You can't scoop them up with your feet. It's quite different. So if you see this though, call us. And again, by us, I mean our whole association. We train people every year. We have trainings every year so that people can go and get bees. Because this is a great way to benefit both a beekeeper and a homeowner. You don't want this on your home, at your house. And then that's a good way for a new beekeeper to get started being a beekeeper. They go get the bees and they put them in a bee box and they become a beekeeper. So if you do see these, size up the situation. Is it an undisturbed swarm? Is it just a swarm? Or is it an actual hive, a whole beehive? Figure that out first. Has anyone been stung? Why do we need to know that?
How angry they are.
They're protective.
How aggressive they are?
Right, how aggressive they are, how protective they are, how defensive they are. Has a pheromone been released?
Yes.
Has that alarm pheromone been triggered? Or has it not? And that's one of the first questions I ask when I get a phone call. Hey, I've got a beehive, it's in this place. Has anyone been stung? No. Has anyone been over there? No. Okay, good. Because if somebody's been stung, that's a different environment. We need to know that first. Call a beekeeper or call the fire department. A lot of them will call us, which is good. If someone has been stung, you do want to remove the stinger, unless they're, weird like me, they like bees. But you want to remove the stinger as quickly as possible. Call EMS if needed. And keep in mind that that pheromone is going to attract more bees, so you do want to cover it up quickly. I'm going to skip that. I'm afraid I'm running out of time. How am I doing on time?
You're doing okay.
Okay. So bee relocation, like I said, our teams will go get bees, and we get phone. That is me. I'm only. I'm only 5'4", so you can see how tall this beehive is, and it was actually over here too. So I mean, it was large, and there's a lot of places around the greater big country where bees can go. But they can be inside, behind things, behind walls, any void of space, or they can be outside. They can be that open air. They love soffits. They love them.
Do you remove the honey?
Yes, we remove everything. And keep that in mind. If you ever are in this situation, you've got a beehive somewhere, and you call somebody, let's say it's not me, and they say, we'll come get them, we're going to get the bees, make sure they're getting everything. Meaning, they cut it open, and they clean everything out. They take all the comb out, they take all the bees out, they take the honey out, and then they spray some kind of deterrent behind them. If you don't, in 3 or 4 months, you're going to have more bees move right in. If you leave all that comb in there, it's going to attract other bees. They're going to swarm. It's going to smell it when they're passing by, and they're going to move in. And it doesn't, they can smell it from pretty far away. They're going to move in. They're going to take over that house, and there you have another beehive.
Can you use the honey?
We will use it, or we'll give it back to the bees, but we cannot sell it because it's in somebody's house. So we can't sell it, but we'll eat it. I eat it, or if somebody's okay with it, like if you were at my house, you're like, I don't care where it came from, just give me some honey. I'll give it to you. I cannot sell it legally.
You might want to make a point that you will remove the structure that must be placed.
True, good point. So we will cut it out, like both of these pictures, but we don't reconstruct because we're not. I can take things apart. I know enough about things, wood, houses and stuff, but I can't repair it. So we're beekeepers, we're not contractors. So I recommend you get a professional contractor who knows how to put houses back together, to put it back together. If I did it, it might not look so good. But we have trained beekeepers. We will come, we will size up, figure out what's going on. We'll remove those bees, we'll clean everything out. Then we'll give time, a little bit of time, like a day or two, for bees to, sometimes they'll keep coming back and clean and just eat all the honey and the drips, and they'll clean it. After a couple of days, we'll spray that deterrent so that more bees don't want to come back. And then those bees go to a local apiary. So you're supporting local beekeepers, helping them keep doing what they're doing. Or you can take them to your house, or we can put them at your house. So a lot of times I've done the removal and the bees have stayed right there. Because the person's like, I want to have bees, I have a garden. Okay, let's do this. And so we take the bees out of their soffit, we put them in a box and put it right there at their house, and they just keep them. We can do that too. And we can teach you how to become a beekeeper. At our associational meetings, we teach a lot about how to become a beekeeper, how to get started. We have Bee 101 classes. We teach all year long, every month something different. And then at our farm, we have Beekeeping 101 classes. This spring, we've had them, this will be our second one next Saturday. But because the demand is so great, next year, starting in February, we're going to have a Bee 101 class every month. We've already got the calendar out because there's so many people who are like, I want to learn how to become a beekeeper, which is fantastic. The more beekeepers, the more bees. And we're probably going to start getting into native bees, how to have native bees on your property or your land. So we're going to start moving in that direction. And then like winterizing, how to keep the bees alive in the winter, because that's tricky too. So.
Do you prefer working with native bees or imported Italians or Russians?
Me personally, I like Texas bees personally. And even though they can be a little on the spicy side of things, because back in the 80s, the African bees, killer bees, came up, and they did come into the state of Texas in the 80s. That DNA has spread out so thinly now, so many years later. All Texas bees, and even some in other parts of of North America, have become a little more on the spicy side because of that African DNA. But finding a true 100% Africanized bee is next to impossible now. And we will send them off to Texas A&M and send them off to UTSA, and they'll test the bee. Every time I've sent one off, thinking, oh, this one was so mean. They're probably Africanized. They're not. Because the DNA is just spread so thinly. It's like everybody now is just a little bit more on the spicy side. But all that to say, yes, I like Texas bees because they're hardy. They are better producers. I've gotten Italian bees from East Texas and from Wyoming and all these other places. And they're not as hardy to me as West Texas is. So I enjoy getting bees from these removals and taking them back to my apiary because they produce better. And they fight off the mites and the diseases and stuff better. They're just Texans. I like them. They are. They're Texas tough. I'm going to use them. They're good bees. Ways you can help native bees. Obviously, you can plant bees, trees, shrubs, flowers. And then like this list, plant them where they bloom at different times of the year so that there's a constant source of pollen going on. That's something we're working on at our place. We don't have that right now. We have some, but we need a lot more that bloom in the fall, that bloom in September, that bloom in November, Plant native plants, avoid using herbicides, pesticides, insecticides, find that organic way of beekeeping. A water source, like we talked about before, whether that be a bird feeder or bird bath, or just there's so many things you can do, but trough, as long as there's something for the bees to land on so they don't drown. But a water source is very beneficial. That's not just honeybees, that's all bees. They all need water. And then, of course, joining our association, our local association, learning more about bees, or coming to our tours, our classes. That's our class that's coming up on September the 7th. At our farm, we're teaching the basics of bees. There's going to be some of what we just talked about, but we dive way more into the weeds of bees, of honeybees, how to actually become a beekeeper. So it's much more, here's a bee box, and here's, that kind of stuff. So And then that's our information, that's website, email, phone number, all that good stuff, if you guys, yes,
Another question.
absolutely.
Do you have, so I appreciate the fact of it, but I really don't want to be the beekeeper person.
Sure.
Do you have people that want to keep hives at a place to take care of them, but not have to be the one that takes care of them?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in our association who do that, and myself included, but, and not just me, but there's a bunch of people. Depending on where you live, there's probably a beekeeper near you that we could connect you with that would be more than happy to put bees on your property and then take care of them, and, yeah. And especially ag valuations, so if you have a piece of property more than 5 acres in Taylor County or Jones County, Callahan County, whatever around here, and you want an ag valuation, but you don't want to have cows, and you don't want to have horses, and you don't want to have goats, and whatever. Thankfully, to the state of Texas, bees are considered a livestock in Texas, and so it's an agricultural entity. It's just like having a herd of cattle, just much smaller. But you can have bees and have an ag valuation on your property. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do not want to be a beekeeper, but you're like, hey, I've got 25 acres that's doing nothing, come stick 12 beehive boxes out there, and so we can create that relationship.
It takes 5 years though.
It does. It takes 5 years. I just put 6 beehive boxes on a lady's land, and I'm like, you do realize we're going to do this for 5 years before you're going to see any benefit, right? She's like, I know. I'm like, all right, let's go. So here we go. But you got to start somewhere. Yes, sir.
How much space do you need for one acre?
Maybe 3 by 3 feet.
I mean, like in the backyard
Oh,
or things like
you
that.
can put them anywhere. You can put them, and like I said, I mean, they are not necessarily aggressive, but they can be depending on the time of the year. So for a long time, I had them in my backyard, and it was.
In the city?
I've never lived in the city, but people do. We have beekeepers who literally have them in their backyard in the city, yes. And that is perfectly fine. If you have more than one, you might need more space because they're going to have to go forage to, really resources is what you're looking for. Is there something for them to eat and drink from around you? For example, I had a guy call me from Fisher County. He was like, I want to become a beekeeper. I'm like, okay, tell me about your environment. What's around you? He was like, nothing. And I was like, what do you mean nothing? He was like, literally, nothing. There's just dirt for like a 2-mile radius around my house. And I'm like, I love you and all, but I'm sorry, it's not going to work because they can't fly 6 miles to go get food. You know, you've got to have food right there around where you put the beehive. Does that answer your question?
One thing that you need to consider is if you keep your yard mowed, every time you go by that box with a lawnmower, you might stir up bees.
Maybe.
Sometimes they.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Yeah, I weed eat around mine. So far, so good. Other people have weed eated around theirs. Not a good moment. But they don't like clouds. They know when a storm's coming, usually before we know they're coming. They get hungry, they get hangry, just like we do. So if it's 97 or 107 for a month, like we've had this year, 117, they're going to be in a bad mood. They just are, because it's hot and they're hungry and they're thirsty. So they're affected by food and water just like we are. So yes.
This might be more research based, but have you talked to the doctor at the bee lab at A&M about how honeybees outcompete native bees for resources?
I have not. That's a great question.
I was just wondering because I used to study bees at the University of Florida at the bee lab there, and that was kind of what they were starting to do, but I wasn't sure how it's played out.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's a great question.
I was just curious.
What was the question?
How competitive for resources is a honeybee versus native bees? Like, are they?
Yeah, there's been research that honeybees outcompete native bees for resources, so that they're actually hurting native bee population.
That's possible.
So,
I don't know.
just curious.
That's a good question. I'd have to ask Texas A&M or the
Yeah.
Florida has a great honeybee lab.
Mhm.
Auburn University has a great
Yeah.
honeybee lab. Of course, Texas A&M, UTSA. There's something else. Maybe Illinois.
I'm not sure. I know all
I know
are
there's-
in US.
Yeah, there's
I didn't
another-
know A&M had a honey bee lab until today.
Oh, yeah, the Texas A&M Agri-Life Department is gigantic. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have to shade a beehive or
You
bee
do not.
box?
Honestly, with honeybees, partial shade is better, or bend on the full sun side. Full shade is not good, because it is an environment that is cooler and darker, which helps the diseases and the bugs grow. So as a honeybee keeper, you want the partial shade, full sun side. All of mine are pretty much partial shade. Some of mine are full on sun.
So what would be better, west sun versus east sun?
You want them to face south,
Face south.
always, south to southwest. The opening, their front door.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want them to face north just because of that north wind.
I have a bee.
Native bees. East is probably fine. I would do southeast if you could, just because of that north wind that blows in, you know, around here. And that's not just around here, that's just a bee thing, not north. Yes,
How do you deal with varroa mites here?
that depends on the beekeeper.
Okay. How do you personally?
I personally am an all-natural beekeeper. I don't treat.
Okay.
That's another reason I like West Texas bees, because they seem to be able to fight off varroa mites better than other kinds of bees. But a lot of our beekeepers, and some of you beekeepers can answer that question, a lot of people use Apivar or Hop Guard or the oxalic acid treatment.
Yeah.
But I personally don't do it.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Curious how you.
Yeah, I'm a non-treater. Yes. I do not sell queens currently. We're about to start selling queens hopefully in February. And then nukes, yes. We're about to open the pre-orders. We're taking pre-order sales for nukes, but we'll be selling nukes. And for those who are going, what the heck's a nuke? I'll explain. Late March, early April, we'll be selling nukes. A nuke is a small beehive. It's a small box. It's about, I don't know, a foot by a foot-ish, a foot by 2 feet. And it's got 4 frames of bees, 4 to 5. And it has a queen. And it has resources in there. So a frame of pollen and nectar, a frame of honey, several frames of bees. And then you buy that nuke and you take it home. And we talk about all of this in our Beekeeping 101 class. You take that nuke and you put it in a regular bee box, and then they grow and they become, a bigger beehive. But it's like a starter kit, for lack of better words. It's like a beekeeping starter box, starter kit. You've got your resources and you've got your queen. Here you go, put it in a box, done. It's a lot easier to get started that way than taking a swarm home or taking a removal beehive home. Those are great ways to get started, but they have nothing. And at least a nuke has some frames of honey and some frames of babies and a queen and things to get started on their journey, as growing their beehive. But it's not the only way. They'll just leave. Yeah, it's a wild animal. Bees are going to do what they want to do. Any other questions before we stop? Yes.
Okay, when you have some kind of livestock out there, you have like donkeys or cattle.
Say that one more time.
When you have a beehive out in the field with donkeys or cattle.
Okay. She said, can you have beehives with donkeys, cattle? Cattle sometimes. It depends on your cattle. Like if you know them, if they're your friends and they're not too aggressive or assertive, donkeys know they will knock them over. Not because they want to necessarily knock it over, they might want to, but they scratch and rub and they're stronger than they know they are, and they'll topple them over. I've seen it several times. Donkeys don't play well with bees either. Did I just say donkeys? I meant to say goats. Goats don't play well either because they knock them down when they jump and trample and they'll knock them over. Right, so you just need to fence it off. I have some bees with donkeys. I just have to handle off. So as long as they handle off, fence it off. You're fine.
If you have 5 or 10 acres, you need to do one behind to get the whole thing out, or is it just?
No, so in Taylor County, now every county in the state of Texas is different. And this list is on the Texas Beekeepers Association website. It's also in the State and AgriLife website. But every county is different. Taylor County, minimum is 5 acres. So to get your ag valuation. That's just across the board.
So 1 box per 5 acres?
No. So you have to have a minimum of 5 acres. And then they won't give an ag valuation for bees over 20 acres. So the frame there is 5 acres to 20 acres for ag bee evaluation. And then with those 5 acres, if you have 5 acres, you need 5 hives as to start with. But we say 6 because, and this is what the extension office will tell you too, start with 6 because if they come out there, Taylor County actually looks, not every county does that. But if they come out there and you have 5, which is 5 is your minimum, and one of them died last week, well, there goes your evaluation. So you need to have 6, just to have that buffer, make sure you're good. So if anyone asks me to come put hives on their field for ag evaluation, I put 6 every time, just to be safe, so that if anything happens, there's always 5 that are alive on their property. And then if you get to 20 acres, it's 5 hives for the first 5 acres, and then it's 1 hive every 2.5 acres after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And how does poultry break down?
Poultry, chickens,
Chickens and turkeys and goose?
totally fine. I
Affect
haven't,
that?
not at all. They're good. But mine live all together, all side by side.
Oh, they won't try to, the chickens won't?
My chickens
turkeys
don't.
won't try to get the bees or anything?
My chickens have not. Chickens, cats, dogs, donkeys, and their panels on.
Yeah, but they would only mess with you once. What's an average range for cost per bee? They set it up, start it.
Yeah, a full starter box with no bees in it, just the box and the frames, top, bottom, all that is about $215. It's a good starting price.
And with the bees, well.
With bees, if you got a box, a full box, not a nuke, a full box with bees, you're looking at about $350. A nuke is more like $225. We're probably going to sell them and come over for $225.
And you'll have to go pick them up.
The nukes, yes.
The nukes and the full on.
Well, maybe we've
You're
delivered.
not gonna deliver.
Yeah, we've delivered them. Oh yeah, depending on where you are. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but we have all that at our farm, in our store. Yes, any other questions?
Just if anyone is interested in getting into bees, join the association and ask lots of questions.
Yes.
Do not go out and just start buying things like I did. Learn what you really need, what you can get by as a minimum. Learn what it takes for a bee suit, but it's best for you. It's not something that just, you can spend lots of money, I guarantee you.
Like with any other agricultural item, you know, animal.
And also realize, bees cannot be domesticated.
No. They definitely cannot be domesticated. They are a wild animal. Even though let's say we get bees out of your house and you put them in a bee box and they're in your yard, I cannot 100% guarantee they're going to stay there. At any moment in time, they can decide, we don't like it here, we're going to leave. And they will. So, we can do things to keep them from trying to do that, but at the end of the day, they're a wild animal. It's like saying, here's a deer, put it in your yard. Okay. It might leave in 2 days, you know, so.
Will another come in then on their own to that, if we were to empty out?
To a bee box, not likely. It's probably going to be pests and yucky things that move in if bees leave. So it's better to take that box apart, freeze those frames, and then we can start over with a swarm trap, or we can start over with just another full set of bees. Because if bees leave, and let's say it takes you a few days to realize it, wax moths and have other pests and things can move in real fast, and it can be real gross. Yeah. But Other bees couldn't. I mean, it's possible. So it could happen.
Could I suggest this too? That
Sure.
if you consider getting bees, go somewhere where they have bees and let them, let you assist with harvesting honey if you're interested in that. It's a tremendous amount of work.
It is.
And some people are surprised when they find out just how much work it's involved.
I will take assistance anytime you want to come out and hang out on the farm. If you want to come check bees, give me a call. I can always use your help. And you can learn all of it. All right.